Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Iqbal. Today I'm going to talk about my articles. The title is Journal of Education and Student Studies. The introduction. Building individuals and communities who are passionate about learning is a common theme in these difficult times. What becomes one of the obstacles to the process of learning English for educational purposes is the lack of support from the environment. An environment that doesn't support students in learning English for educational purposes, friends who make fun of them. A good learning method must be chosen to make it easier for students to learn English for educational purposes. For that is not arbitrary in choosing and making supporting factors in the learning English for educational purposes. Learning programs must be chosen to help students in the learning process a positive and moral attitude towards oneself with regret to less to help students in their learning process. This process is carried out not only to help students to able to facilitate learning in English for educational purposes, but also help students meet the standard of their respective universities. Because usually students' graduation standards are determined from the TOEFL score they have complete. By fulfilling the predetermined TOEFL score, it can assist students completing graduation documents from their respective university. And it's hoped that with this learning, they will be able to make the standard of the TOEFL score in order to complete the graduation requirements for their respective universities. Number 2, the overview. Learning is a process to mastering something. For example, we learn to ride a bicycle. First, we have to have a bicycle. One of the way to have a bicycle is to buy it from a bicycle shop. The second is that we can get a gift from someone, or we can gift it to our parents. Then try to climb on it. And the first time we get on it, we have to pedal it so it can walk. We analogize that parable above with the way we learn to master English. First, the materials we need to have to the process of learning English for educational purposes are the dictionaries. When we already have a dictionary, we can determine the words that are easy or we often say and use in everyday life, and then we arrange the words. If we have trouble getting a dictionary, we can learn English through films, because the films we watch are probably English films. This can help us in the process of learning English for educational purposes, because besides watching movies, we can also learn directly. Moreover, our hobby of watching English films can be an easy way for us to learn English. By watching the films, we can learn by interpreting the languages in the film into Indonesia, and then We memorize them one by one. This method is one of the easiest way to help us. Mastering English is actually not difficult if we have high will and perseverance. Or turn into a hobby where the hobby can give us confidence because we like doing it. For example, if we like to play games, we will constantly or take our time to finishing our play the game. Then it's the same as our hobby in studying or speak English. It will make us constantly learn to memorize, looking for English word for us to memorize and master. Number 3, the method. Participants. 2 categories of individuals were selecting for these investigations. They are lecturing in law courses and law students. Despite the fact that structured interviews were originally intended. Time consistency mean that only a questionnaire was used to collect data, because by shortening the time of data collections, this journal can be complete more quickly. This technique works well enough to obtain the informations needed to achieve research objective. College students. The first group is the internet audience, actual law students. They served as the main data source and included students from our countries. Each of them is a second or foreign language speaker English. One of the respondents is a native English speaker or native language. The questionnaire was originally intended for distribution, specifically for students in their third year. Lecture. Teachers' law lecture are the second group. They form a panel of the most qualified experts to evaluate students' current languages skills. They can also predict the readiness level of children without an EAP course covering that subject. Collection of data. The appropriate class lectures and a few students from the law faculty assisted in distributing the surveys to the students. The further surveys were filled out with the assistance of students from the researchers. Presence has largely been tolerated by the academics. The surveys they study 2 different kinds of questionnaire we used. A questionnaire for students. B, instructions survey. Assessment of data and findings. 2 of the 4 findings are discussed and published for the sake of this paper. The 2 components are 1. Motivational and attitudinal elements, and 2. English use outside of the classroom. Motivational and attitude relate factors in this section. The attitude and motivation of the students regarding English are examined and analyzed. Understanding the attitudes and motivation of students and lecturers with regard to the English language can be gained by comparing and contrasting their response. The third items on the students, the item 1 on the lectures questionnaire, and the questionnaire were created. And the last, the result show that most students didn't utilize English outside of the classroom, despite the fact that they were aware of its significance. As shown by the results of the previous items, 3 of the students' questionnaire, speaking abilities followed by writing abilities, listening abilities, and reading abilities, have been shown to be the language skills that will be the most helpful to students in their career as predicted by the lectures. Therefore, the results shown that speaking and writing abilities should be prioritized more in any ESP program for students of Lao. That's all what I can give to you. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.